how to raise and find a monarch butterfly egg. Find milkweed, and you'll need to remember where you found milkweed because you'll need to keep up a supply of leaves, especially once the caterpillar gets bigger. So look under the milkweed leaves and you'll find a tiny little white egg. And I have a little example. It's not a real egg, but that's just a crumpled up petal. That looks about the same size of an egg. An egg of a monarch is a white, creamy color. And then I take a pair of scissors and I cut around it on the leaf. And I'll do that for you. Or I just take the leaf. But it kind of also helps me keep track of how many eggs I found if I cut it out. So about like that. And if the egg is more than 24 hours old, it'll be firm. But under 24 hours old, it's squishy. So just be delicate with it. Place it in some kind of a container. Probably not this because it has holes in it, but it's my example for now. I like to use like Rubbermaid containers and just keep the lids off, and then I use saran wrap over the top and poke some holes. But I'm going to pretend for now that this is my egg and I'm setting in a container, and then I go around and I find more and I put them in there, and then I bring them inside into a safe space away from direct sunlight. I have a misting container and I'll mist them with water once or twice a day, and within 5 days they will hatch into a tiny, tiny little caterpillar, like smaller than this little piece of grass and about 2 millimeters long. They're just so tiny, a little speck. So mist again, and this is when you're going to want your supply of milkweed. You could even just break off some leaves, keep them in a Ziploc bag in your fridge. That's what I like to do. And then for the tiny caterpillars, you can just break off a piece of a leaf because they're going to need the leaves moist. You do not want dry leaves or dry caterpillars because those teeny tiny ones are so fragile and they'll just dry up and blow away pretty quick. So little piece of leaf, mist it, and in a couple days they'll be a little bigger. You'll be able to see them a little better. They might be about this big in a week, and within about 2 weeks they'll be even bigger, maybe about this big. It's usually judged by the size of your pinky is when they are full size, and that's when they'll form a J. But before then, you'll need to clean out their little cages or habitats, if you will, because they poop a lot when they're big. So what I do is give them a fresh leaf, kind of get it underneath them, work it underneath so that they have something nice and incentive. Set them off to the side in another container. They can't fly, but they can crawl. And then I dump out their poop into something I'm going to take to the compost. And then I just wipe out with a wet paper towel the container and put them back in. I have seen, or I've done where I cut off, not on a tiny plant like this, but a branch, and keep it in a container in with my caterpillars. which I have a terrarium. It's like an aquarium with a mesh top that I keep the containers in. I found that's just the easier way to keep track of the caterpillars in their different sizes. And I just put their poop in the compost. And I prefer to just keep giving them the individual leaves. I like not cutting plants off so that the other caterpillars and monarchs and other critters that live out there still have their plants. If you do either cut or remove leaves from a plant, especially one that's not yours, don't take more than 1/3 of the plant so it can still be productive all summer long. Milkweed is a perennial if you do grow it, and if you do grow it by seed, it does need to be cold for about 30 days in your freezer and wet, and then you can plant it in the sun and it'll grow and keep coming back. And monarch butterflies only lay eggs on milkweed, and their caterpillars can only eat milkweed, so don't try to give them some other leaves. It's not what they're going to eat. And please make sure that when they do emerge from the chrysalis, that after they have a couple hours to get their wings going, sorry, I skipped a part. So they form a J when they're a big caterpillar. And then they do that for about 24 hours. They form their beautiful green chrysalis, and they're in that for 10 days. And then they emerge. And at first their body is full of the fluid that's going to go to their wings, so they need time to work their wings. Their wings will be crinkled. Don't worry, they're okay. That's how they look. And then they work their wings out, get the fluid out into their wings. They need to dry, takes a couple hours, and then you can release them. Happy raising!